Well, hello everybody. Hello Jinbei. Hello Luffy. Hello Zoro. Hello everybody else. Hello empty spot where Eustace Kid used to be. There you go. Actually, update on the wall, because I know a lot of people will often message me and be like, you know the numbers are all off, right? You need to get some new wanted posters, Teching. Well, you know what? I found some. You know, it takes a while to get these things, guys. All right, so I got some new wanted posters. They're on their way. I might even do a live stream where I put all the new posters up on the backboard so you can give me your input on where they all need to go. I'm really excited for Frankie's new one. If you know it, you know it. But yeah, so that's going to be happening. And today we have One Piece Chapter 1094 review titled... Oh boy, St. J. Garcia, Saturn of the Five Elders, the Defense Science Warrior God! That sounds like, I don't know, that title itself sounds like a really long, elaborated, like, anime attack. You know what I mean? Like that one time in Bleach where Uehara goes on that really long spiel with the Kido, and he, like, attacks Aizen with it. It's just like, St. J. Garcia, Saturn of the Five Elders, Warrior God, Ultimate Sky Roaring Cannon! You know, it's like something like that. And, yeah, I mean, like... When you are one of the Gorosei, when you are one of the 5 people that rule the entire world, I mean, aside from the other dude that's ahead of all of you guys, but when you're ostensibly one of the 5 people that rule the world, you gotta have a title. So we continue right where we left off in the last chapter. Where we did leave off was Atlas and Vegapunk were in the Vega tank. You know, Vegapunk has had enough of sitting on, you know, the sidelines. You know, he might be an old man, but he actually, you know what? Vegapunk, you know, he's an older guy, but he's only like in his mid-60s, which is crazy to me. I thought Vegapunk was gonna show up, he's gonna be like 98 years old, or he was gonna be like 180, and he's gonna have like cybernetics attached to him, and that's like he's like way older than he really, you know, should have been. But no, he's only like 65. Like, he's like 13 years younger than Garp, okay? Like, he's pretty spry. So Vegapunk's like, I've had enough of this, I won't have them harm Bonney! You know, and so he gets in the Vega tank, he puts on his goggles, Atlas gets in with him, let's go! And he just starts rushing down the skyway, or the basically the clouds, you know? So on the bottom of the, of Egghead, the fabrication sphere, there's that one building that you might have noticed that looks like a bottle. It looks like a bottle of like wine, or like soda pop, or whatever. And then out of the top of that was a bunch of the clouds that create the labosphere, create like the island clouds, okay? So it's like a generator for clouds, like the Milky Dials, just on like a crazy production scale, okay? So basically what the Vega tank is doing is driving straight down that plume of cloud back straight down into the fabrication sphere. Sanji and Frankie also attach themselves to the Vega tank, so they're all heading down. Their mission is a simple one, to find and rescue Bonney, and also give the order to the Pacifista Mark IIIs to override Kizaru's command, because Kizaru just had the command of the authority chip. Sentomaru has the higher authority beyond them, but unfortunately Sentomaru is kind of out of commission right now. They don't really bother looking for Sentomaru. It's one of those things where it's just like, okay, we gotta get Bonney and we gotta give the order to the Pacifista. What about Sentomaru? There's no time! Get in! Just like, okay, alright, sure. But if the Vegapunks give the order, that's even above Sentomaru, and there's no one that could possibly supersede the order beyond Vegapunk, right? No way. So, of course, Atlas arrives, she gives the order, she's like, all of the Pacifistas push back the Marines, and so the Marines were fighting alongside the Pacifistas, and now instantly they received the command through their little receivers in their ears, and they're just like, recalibrating orders. Just like, there's just a Marine standing next to him like, oh no, boom! And just so the Pacifista Mark IIIs are now back on the side of the Vegapunks, and everything seems to be going all right. I mean, they didn't even really need to bring Frankie and Sanji, to be honest with you, okay? So they all start to, you know, fight back against the Pacifistas again, just like, all right, that was good while it lasted, now it's back to fighting back. So it really comes down to, or at least it seems like, who controls the Pacifista controls the day, as it were. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other unpredictable factors here that we're going to see, okay? So there is an interesting little moment where they're basically driving down a plume of smoke. Vegapunk. Like, if you look at a factory and see a smokestack coming right out of it, the Vegatank is driving straight down that. And they even mention that. I think even Frankie brings it up, just like, how are we driving straight down, you know, or we're gonna fall off, right? And Vegapunk's like, oh, Quasar, don't worry about it, Frankie, for you see, the wheels of my Vegatank are made out of a little bit of Karyoseki. They're made out of a little bit of the same material that's in the clouds, the pyrobrine stuff. And this material has an interesting little quirk. It wants to cling together with other material of the same, you know, same chemistry, same elements, okay? So I guess the idea is if you make a wheel that has a little bit of like a Milky dial in it that creates the cloud, and then you drive it down another cloud, like the cloud roads that we've seen here and we've seen up in Skypiea, it will like automatically like cling to it, like a static cling kind of effect, okay? Like lint clinging to your jacket or something, you know, maybe something like that. So, interesting little trait there, and it might carry over to Karyoseki because, the pyrobrine is the substance that makes up the island cloud. The reason why island clouds are like something you could physically stand on and like jump on and stuff like that is because of a chemical called pyrobrine. And it was thrown out there that this chemical has something to do with sea prism. It's like when sea prism breaks up, like the gaseous form of it, if that is how it works, you know, is this pyrobrine chemical, or at least it comes from sea prism. It's like a byproduct of it or something. And so it's that chemical that creates island clouds. And so we're finding out a little bit more about it. I mean, obviously, Vegapunk doesn't have time to sit down and explain the chemistry of island clouds and everything like that. But, you know, he's like, oh, don't worry. We're not going to fall off the side of the smokestack. We can drive straight down and then land in the fabrication sphere, give the orders, find Bonney, get her to safety, and then drive straight back up to the Labosphere. Edison can open up the Frontier Dome. We can drive right back in, and then everything will be fine. Okay, great. So they need to find Bonney, though. So they don't really have a way to do this, like an efficient way. Atlas just kind of steps out of the Vegatank and just, Bonney, where are you? Bonney, where? Oh, there's Sentomaru. He's dead. Anyway, Bonney, where are you? And Sanji, though, it's a good thing they brought Sanji for this, because Sanji, well, yes, he does have really high-spec observation hockey. He's really good at that. But more specifically, he says, oh, don't worry. If I have the women radar, I could basically use my observation hockey to just boom and sense every woman within like a 2-kilometer radius or something like that. And he uses it, and he's like, she's over there. And then Sanji just goes to zip down, and Vegapunk's driving, and he's just like, all right, that doesn't sound very scientific. In fact, that sounds rather creepy, but okay, I mean, if you have it, sure, I'll trust you. I have no reason not to. Okay, always learn a new science. All right, so love radar. Observation hockey types, let's see. There's the type that allows you to see into the future that Katakuri could do, future sight observation. Then there's the empathy observation that Otohime was able to use. She could like sense people's emotions, like, I feel your pain, and that kind of stuff. Empathy observation. And we also have women radar observation. Okay, it's interesting. I'm learning a lot of stuff about hockey today, huh? Listen, nuts. And so Sanji's like, I found her. All right, I'll go on ahead. So Sanji's way faster than the Vegatank, obviously, when he's going top gear. And so Sanji just zips down to the fabrication sphere to find Bonney, okay? Meanwhile, we do cut over to see what is up with Bonney. So she's basically just trying to run and hide, and every time she runs across a group of Marines, she just uses her power to turn them into like old men or little babies so they can't fight back, and then she just runs past them, and she's just trying to hide somewhere because she knows she's outnumbered, okay? She's like, the pacifistas were blasting everybody, and then the Marines are all over the place, and you got vice admirals down there. So the pacifistas have come back to their side, so that's a good thing, but you still got the Marines, right? So she is currently in pitched battle with one of the vice admirals. We don't know his name. We do get the name of one of the vice admirals in this chapter, but not this dude. This is the dude that has the mustache and the impressive chin, like the butt chin, you know? He uses like a giant staff with a seashell on the end of it, or like a clam on the end of it. So just picture a big stick with a clam on the end of it, and he uses that as like a hammer, and he's just bashing, you know, the buildings apart trying to hit Bonney like he's playing whack-a-mole or whack-a-tanuki, as he's going to say later. So he's just going around swinging this giant thing. So just letting everybody know, this is how you become a Vice Admiral, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to have great sword skills or a devil fruit or anything like that. You don't need to be like Momonga. All you need to have is a big stick with a clam on the end of it, and you just beat things with. That's what you need to become a Vice Admiral in the Marines, okay? So Bonney is like, you know, she's really good at gymnastics, so she's just jumping around and avoiding all those attacks. Some other Marines show up behind her and be like, "We found Bonney, take her out," okay? At the same time, Bonney, what I've discovered about Bonney in this arc is she is really good at improvised weaponry, or she's really good at just finding random crap on the ground and using that as a weapon. She used that like one pipe thing, you know, the timely thrust that she used against Vegapunk that one time. She just picked a pipe up and used that, and then she picked up this big electrical cable and tried to use that against Kizaru. I thought it was her arm like extending, you know, it was like her just picking up a big electrical cable and using that. And then here, you know, because there's Marines and they're fighting the pacifistas, so there's like dead bodies like all over the battlefield right now. She could just grab pretty much whatever, so she finds a pistol, so she just pulls up a pistol off the ground and just, and then so there's some Marines behind her, and she just does this really cool like gymnastic flip in the air, and then uses her special technique, NDE, near death experience, and she just fires a bunch of bullets straight at these Marines, hits them right in the head, and then they begin to have visions of their own death, which is a horrifying ability. So it's like NDE, near-death experience. Other applications of this would be NDA, you know, non-disclosure agreement. And it just like hits one of the Marines in the face like, "I can no longer discuss any of this," you know, or DNR, yeah, DNR, you know, do not resuscitate. "I can no longer come back!" And I was like, I don't know, but NDA, not NDA, near-death experience, NDE, okay. So, hits him in the face, and there's this one dude that begins to, like, his flesh begins to, like, melt off his body, just so it's a skull, just, yoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, you know? And so he's just like, ah! And then it doesn't actually happen. He doesn't, like, lose his flesh. He comes back out of it, but he's, like, crying, and he's just like, "I've gazed at the Sanzu River," and they just all collapse and they're crying and they're like in the fetal positions like, "It was terrifying." So what I think this ability did, and this is horrifying to think, Bonney shoots them, which you could argue, like, why did she even need to use the NDE? You think the bullet enough would probably be I mean, if she would have just fired the bullet like a normal bullet, I'm pretty sure it would have dealt with them, you know? But Bonney's a little sadistic here. She's like, all right, I'll let you live, but I want you to do this first, okay? So I think what this does is the bullet hits you with the near-death experience, and, like, time then dilates, where you see the rest of your life play out in front of you. Within the span of like a second on the outside world, you see all of it. This Marine gets hit in the head with this bullet, and he's just like, what? And then he's back home with his girlfriend, Michelle, I guess, and he's just like, "Oh, hey, honey, how you been? Oh, man, I'm back from the Marines." It's like, "Oh, honey, we have to give this guy a name. What's this dude's name? I always use Dave as a name. Let's call him Calvin, okay? Calvin and Michelle, all right? Just a lovely couple, all right? You know, they met at the Marine potluck a couple of months ago, all right? And just like, you know, he was a little nervous, but he asked her out, and she said yes. So he's back home, and then they date a little bit, and then it's like, "Honey, Calvin, I'm pregnant." It's like, "Oh, baby, that's wonderful." And then they have like a child, and you know, he grows up, and they go to school, and he retires from the Marines, and he's like, "Well, that was a good day. That was a good time in the Marines." Here he retires as like a Commodore in the Marines, and just like, "We will now salute Commodore Calvin," and just like, "Oh, thank you, everybody." And so he just lives out the rest of his days, and he's there on his porch, on his rocking chair with Michelle, and they're just there enjoying their retirement. And like, "This is lovely indeed." And then it cuts to him on the hospital bed, like, beep, beep, like little Den Mushy next to him, like, beep, beep, and just, "It was truly a beautiful life to spend with you, Michelle. Oh, honey, I'll be right behind you. Oh." And then it doesn't stop, though. It doesn't stop there. It keeps going, as in, he sees his own death, sees his flesh begin to slog off of his skin, so it's nothing but just bone, as he's rotting in the casket. And then that's when it finally stops. That's when it finally stops. It's just, what? And then he just like collapses in fear. All right, so that's that ability. That's That's horrifying. That's very terrifying. Okay. So she uses that power on 3 Marines. They all go down, and they're not going to be getting back up anytime soon. That fight, I mean, yeah, if you would have just shot them in the face, that probably would have made sure they wouldn't have been gotten up no matter what. But this ability is they're done. They're broken men now. I don't think they're going to be the same for the rest of their lives after seeing that shit. Okay. So we have the Vice Admiral dude walk over with the clamshell, and he's just like, "What happened to you guys? Get up on your feet!" And he's like, "Oh man, they really messed you up. Okay, geez, what did you do to them, Bonney? Oh God." All right. So I don't know if that ability would work, by the way, on like a Vice Admiral or an Admiral or something like that. It's probably one of those basic ideas. Same thing with, like, as Law said when he was dealing with Doc Q's sick fruit. Like, you exert enough hockey, you can kind of like push your way out of it. So it's kind of something along those lines. So I don't think this ability would work on like Kizaru or something. But you know, it's a very interesting ability. So while the dude with the clamshell is distracted by his men, Bonney skips out. She's trying to run away when she runs into a pacifista, except this one is actually still under the control of the Marines somehow. And so she kind of freaks out, like, what? But the pacifista, what? Oh man, are they back on the side of the Marines? And so then we get introduced to the old woman. That old woman, like, I think I called her like Vice Admiral Prunes or something because of like a raisin because of her face. She is Vice Admiral Bluegrass, okay? So that lets us know her favorite genre of music. She's just a fan of bluegrass. But she's riding on the top of one of the pacifistas, and the pacifista's like listening to her and like attacking Bonney. And the old woman is like, "Ah, yes, don't worry, Bonney. This is the only pacifista that's still under our control because of my ride fruit." I think it's the Noru no Mi, I think is the Japanese version of that, and it's just like riding, okay? So whatever object she rides upon, I guess it could be an object like the pacifistas, who are like, these are just robots, right? Or it could be like an actual animal like a horse or a bull or something like that, and it will have to listen to her. It will have to obey her commands, and she can control it perfectly, okay? So pretty impressive kind of ability. Also, you know, I think just because I'm a SpongeBob fan, which by the way, I could have made a joke with the clamshell earlier, but whatever, we're too late for that. But Vice Admiral Bluegrass could ride a rock. It's not a boulder. It's a rock! Oh, a rock! Oh, Vice Admiral Bluegrass used to ride these things for miles. She could do that. She can hop on top. All right, everyone, okay, get in. We're going to Golden Corral. All you can eat buffet. You know, she could do that, all right? Pretty unique devil fruit ability. That's actually a clever one. It's amazing to me. One Piece has been around for over 25 years, and Oda still manages to create devil fruit abilities that are kind of unique. You know what I mean? It took us this long just to get the Riki no Mi, which was the super strength fruit. You'd think that would have been like one of the first ones ever introduced, but Oda has like no shortage of crazy ideas. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Oda has like a folder that is just filled with devil fruit ideas, some of which he'll get to put in the story, some he won't. But he just has a whole list. Like every time he thinks of an idea, it just goes in the list. And maybe after One Piece is over, he can release it, and we can see all the devil fruit ideas that just never manifested. Because there's got to be way more than what's in the story, you know? So that's her ability. So she hops on top of the pacifista and just can give it an order, and it can do everything that it can do. Fire lasers, it can move around, it could use the bubble shield, it can do everything under the command of Vice Admiral Bluegrass. So she begins to order it to fire a laser right at Bonney. Now Bonney, this is really rough for her, you got to imagine, okay? Because Bonnie's not stupid. She knows that none of the pacifistas here are her dad, but they all look exactly like her dad. Her dad, who she loves, that has disappeared and went to go be part of the government, and, you know, people are saying horrible things about, and he lost his humanity and everything, and all she wants is to see her dad again, the way that he was, the way that she remembers back when he had his memories, and she can't find him, and even if she can find him, he's just this husk of a robot. But now she is surrounded by dozens of robots that look exactly like her father. That has to mess with you, okay? Even if she's aware that, like, I know that's not actually my dad, but like, oh my god, he looks just like him. Oh no, don't fire a laser at me, Dad! And then that's when Sanji shows up and grabs Bonney, like, get out of the way! And so, you know, tumbles out of the way from the laser blast. And Sanji lands, and he's just like, listen, Bonney, I understand that your dad, I heard all about it with him being a pacifista and everything, and I understand he's Kuma and he looks like that, but you can't let yourself freeze up like that. And Bonney is just like, huh, what, huh, oh, Blackleg's here, okay, thank you. And then so that's when the Vice Admiral with the clam shows up and he's about to bring down the clam hammer, I guess, on top of both of them, I suppose. He's just like, it's time for Whack-an-Otter or Whack-a-Tanuki. It's just weird, interesting translations for that. I've seen a couple of them, right? He's playing whack-a-mole. He's just like smacking the ground a bunch of times with this giant clamshell thing, okay? So, Sanji picks up Bonney and it's just like, let's go, let's get out of here, okay? There you go, there's that. All right, so they get back to the Vega tank. Vegapunk pulls up. He's just like, all right, everybody get in, come on, let's go. This is how I talk now. I'm Vegapunk. Yep, let's rock and roll. Let's go, everybody. Stick it into top gear. This is when I'm high speed Vegapunk. All right, so they open the door and it's like, everybody get on, let's get moving. Meanwhile, back up in the lab stratum, we have Luffy clashing with Kizaru once again, all right? So this fight, from what you discover, and Kizaru is now panting a little bit, Luffy is as well. They're kind of like, all right, this fight just keeps going, huh? He's like, Kizaru is kind of there and he's just like, look, I got a lot of other stuff to do. I can't just be fighting you here. You're really annoying me. So this is kind of what the fight has boiled down to. Luffy's not going to beat Kizaru. It's not going to happen. But Kizaru's also having a really tough time dealing with Luffy because of his wacky powers. This has resulted in what I thought that this was going to happen with, like, before this fight was even established, okay? This is a stalemate. This is 100% a stalemate, okay? It's going to come down to a matter of stamina. And unfortunately, because we know Kizaru can kind of keep this up for a while with his light form, we know Luffy's Gear 5th has a very set time limit, and that's about to run out, okay? So while Luffy's in Gear 5th, yeah, he can distract Kizaru, he can zip around, he can use his Toon Force, he can always catch him. Kizaru still has the edge in terms of speed, so like Kizaru will try to like slip by Luffy, and Luffy will be distracted for a second, but he'll always manage to like, always jump in front of him at the last second. So it's like Kizaru can get away for a couple of instances, but it's just like, you're back again. Oh, you're back again. Oh, come on. It's like just really annoying. So Luffy's trying his best to keep Kizaru contained. I mean, Luffy's trying to hurt him too. Luffy's trying to win the fight. It's just Kizaru's really hard to hit. And even once you do hit him, he's a damn admiral, for God's sake. He's not going to go down even with 1 or 2 hits. Look at Kaido. Even when Luffy went into Gear 5th against Kaido, it took a lot of hits to bring him down. It wasn't like Luffy goes into Gear 5th, punches Kaido once, and he went down. That was still a slobber knocker out of that. And Kaido had just finished fighting all these other battles. Kaido was not nearly close to 100% when he fought against Gear 5th Luffy. Kizaru shows up at 100% against Gear 5th Luffy. So it's not going to happen, all right? There's no way Luffy's going to beat Kizaru before he runs out of time in Gear 5th, which is very vastly approaching here, okay? So Kizaru's like, oh man, would you just let me go? I have stuff to do. And so he zips away again. Luffy, starts up his legs and starts, running after him again. And at this exact moment, when they're all kind of like heading down, so like Kizaru and Luffy are heading down from the lab sphere. You also have Zoro and Lucci still in the middle of their fight. Jinbei as well, they all sense something. Like they all feel like a shiver down their spine at like the exact same moment, okay? Even when they're in the middle of pitched combat themselves. Like Zoro and Lucci are in the middle of fighting, and then it's just like, whoa. The hell was that? I would imagine Lucci and Zoro were in the middle of a fight, like in the middle of like a clash, and then it's just they stop, like they both do. And they're like, the hell was that? Like that, did you feel that? Like, yeah. That was weird. Like, yeah. I'd never felt anything like that before. Do you want to keep fighting? Sure. I think they're going to keep fighting, but Jinbei feels something weird. The Vice Admirals, we see Doll there, we see the dude with the lower, like the underbite, kind of looks like an ancient giant, with the, like the oars underbite with the top hat, they're there, they kind of feel it weird, and then all of a sudden you just hear this super ominous voice, Pacifista units, cease all operations immediately, and then the Pacifistas are like, entering standby mode.
And so they just stop moving. They just all like stop right where they are, like statues, and they just don't move. And so Vegapunk's driving away, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, why are the pacifistas not helping us escape anymore? Why aren't they firing for us? They're not doing anything. Did they lock up or something? I gotta do a reboot. Okay, it's just like, it's the software, you know what I mean? I'm running these things on Windows Vista, you know, it's how it is. A Windows Vista joke in 2023. You know, if you were there, you were there. Okay. So, by the way, Windows 7, I loved Windows 7. I ran Windows 7 as my OS for a very, very long time, okay? And I'm on 10 right now, and I don't want to go to 11. I'm just like, you know what, I'm good with 10. I'm all right with that right now. Okay. So anyway, they're driving away, and Atlas is like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. The only people that should be able, like, we're the highest authority for the pacifistas on this island. The only other possibility, the only other people in the world that can control the pacifistas beyond us are the Gorosei. And then you cut to, I don't know exactly where this is on the island. It's on the island. A magic circle appears. Okay, just think magic circle. Think like arcane magic circle with like a 5-pointed star in it, okay? That just appears in the center of the island, okay? And a bunch of Marines are standing around it, and they're like, whoa, what the hell is this thing? Like, it just whooped, like, you know? And so it's got like all these glyphs on it. It actually reminds me of a lot of in the, I don't know if this was in the manga or in the anime. I mean, it was in both, but they might have added more details in the anime. And when Brook landed at that place where he was summoned as the devil, you know what I mean? All those people dressed up like they had the sheeps on their heads and everything like that, and Brook was summoned. That's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of like a sigil, like a summoning circle, like that kind of, okay? So that kind of shit just appears on the ground, right? And there's a bunch of 5s in it. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to just be the number 5. I mean, it might have been some other weird symbol, or it might not be anything, but it just looks like the number 5, and considering it's the Gorosei, 5 elder planets, or 5 elder stars is a version of that. Also, there's the 5-pointed star in it, so I'm assuming it's 5. It just, yeah, there's a lot of them. Vegatank's trying to get back up the plume of cloud, trying to get back up to the top there, where an announcement comes from the Marine ships, and this announcement can be heard all over the island. Attention, all Marine personnel on the island. Be advised. Saint Saturn of the Gorosei is about to make landfall. Any Marine below the rank of Commodore is forbidden to set their eyes upon Saint Saturn. Please be advised. This is your only warning, okay? So, oh my god, there's a lot of shit moving on at the same time here, okay? So, as that announcement is being read, and as the Vegatank is going back up the cloud road, below that, like a big plume of dark smoke just begins to just billow out of this magic circle, and there's like black lightning shooting off and like black fire happening, like they literally ripped open a gate to hell or something down there. And Vegapunk is like, what is this? What's going on here? The announcement mentioned one of the 5 elders. They can't actually be on this island, can they? And they're the most powerful authorities in the world. And then Frankie and Sanji are just like, what? Huh? What do the Gorosei is here? By the way, this kind of confirms something I was curious about a while ago. Is it well known in the world that the Gorosei exist? I guess that they exist, but what they look like. Like, do they appear in the newspaper? Like, you know, today, St. J. Garcia Saturn makes a new movement to expand defense budget spending or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, does that happen in the paper? Like, we see, like, the leaders of our worlds, you know, like countries and stuff, like, in the paper. Do they appear in the World Economic Times? I guess they don't, honestly. I think it's like something like, yes, the world government is run by the 5 elders. No one has seen what they look like, but they're there, trust me. So that actually adds a whole new dimension to the world government. Like, if the 5 elders, like, their images are just not, like, no one knows what they look like. Because every time we've seen them, it's always been from the perspective of the audience reading the book. It's not like they're making an announcement to the world, or they show up in the newspaper or something like that. No, so from a random citizen, if you're just a random farmer in the South Blue in One Piece, and you're like, yep, the way the world works is that the government is run by 5 elders. No one knows if they exist, and no one's ever seen them before. Oh, well, I'm just a radish farmer, who cares? You know, that's I guess how it works, okay? So,
we see the magic circle, and it looks like something. Sanji looks down at it, and he's just like, something's coming out of that thing, something weird. You know, it's like begin to like slime its way, like begins to appear out of the center. I don't know if it's Satan or Beelzebub or Astaroth or whatever, but he's coming out, all right? And so, one of the Marines down there, oh my God. I feel bad for this dude. Can we have a memorial for this poor son of a bitch, please? Okay? So this guy shows up, and he's looking at... First of all, you're in the middle of a military operation, and this weird Satan summoning circle just appears out of nowhere. The balls on this guy for being like, what's going on over here? What's this thing all about? You know, it's like, you see that thing, like lightning and smoke and fires coming out of it, I'd be like, okay... That is some real, like, occult crap right there. I'm out. I'm done. I'm not... And the announcement said not to look at it directly. I'm done. I'm out of here. This one dude, I don't know if he's just really brave or really, really stupid, or just really curious, I guess. But he's like, what's going on here? I don't believe in any of this crap. And then... like, St. J. Garcia begins to emerge out of this thing in his form, in the form we saw at Reverie, at Marijois, when Sabo showed up and fought them, right? So it begins to appear out of this thing, and then the Marine looks at it, and one of his friends is behind him, and he's just like, hey, dude, maybe you shouldn't look at that thing. And he's just like, come on, what's wrong with the... Boom! And his head explodes! His head just explodes! It's gone! He's looking at St. J. Garcia. We see a panel where St. J's eyes like glow, like he emerges out of the circle, the summoning circle, and he's just like, sees a Marine looking at him, and he's like, and then boom, his head just blows up, and the other Marine's like, okay, crap, I'm not looking, and I'm just like, okay. In terms of an introduction for a character that has a level of dread and like just an ominous vibe just coming off of him, it's like almost palpable, the trepidation, you know what I mean? Like, this works. We see St. J. Garcia Saturn, one of the Gorosei, in his fully realized form, okay? And so, the best way for me to describe this, his lower body, I'll just go like a physical description on what he looks like, and then I'll reference the yokai that he might be in reference to. So, he is based off of a yokai, alright? So, the bottom half of his body is a spider. So think Black Maria in that regard, like the lower half being a spider, okay? So he's got like spider legs, okay? His beard has become very long and billowy. His face looks somehow older. Like they were already old men, but he looks even more shriveled up in this form. He just looks like more demonic, I guess to say. He has huge devil horns, which we did see earlier with the silhouette when Sabo attacked them and they all transformed, and we saw St. J's silhouette. He kind of looked like a big frog or like a bison, people have said, which bison, not completely far off, possibly, okay, with the reference to this, okay? He still has his cane. He's still holding his cane. He's got like a kind of swirly flame pattern on his legs, his spider legs, and he's got a black ribbon coming off of his back. So think the same thing with like Luffy going into gear 4th and 5th, except instead of a white ribbon, it's a black ribbon. It is similar to like when Lucci went into his awakening, but with that one, it was kind of like his the leopard fur of Lucci's form makes the ribbon. Here, it's like a gaseous ribbon, okay? It's like very similar to Luffy's, okay? One could even say it's the antithesis of Luffy's sun god fruit, which I think is kind of the reference here. Okay, so the yokai that this is in reference to, there's a couple that actually fit the bill. The first one that I saw people referencing was the Ushi Oni. Okay, now this is interesting because Ushi means cow in Japanese. Okay, so you're like cow demon or something, right? This is clearly, I mean, he's got, you know, the horns that are indicative of like a bull or like a cow, but he's also clearly a spider. Well, the Ushi Oni, there just happens to be a lot of demons and yokai in Japanese myth that have the lower body of a spider, because spiders are like, I like spiders, I think spiders are cool, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people are scared by spiders and think they look creepy just because they have 8 legs. I mean, come on guys, get over it. But a lot of demons in Japanese myth are spider based, okay? So this is an Ushi Oni, which is a cow demon. Like, that's the literal reference, Ushi Oni, like cow demon, and it has the cow horns and stuff, and the face might resemble a cow, but then the lower half is just a spider. Okay, so there's that. There's also the Tsuchigumo. Gumo or Kumo just means spider. It can also mean cloud in Japanese. Anyway, that's what this thing looks like. Now, these are apparently separate yokai, but if you just look at them side by side, they look remarkably similar, right? This is the Ushioni, this is the Tsuchigumo, or Ogumo, just like great spider, okay? And they look pretty similar. They even have the horns. The only difference is I think the Tsuchigumo has way more junk in the trunk over here. Okay, but that's the only difference, okay? So there are a lot of spider creatures in Japanese folklore there. Okay, and these, by the way, come from something called the Bakemono no E, which is a collection. It's a bunch of scrolls that were collected during the Edo period, and they were drawings of various yokai. So these yokai have been believed in Japanese history for hundreds and thousands of years, right? These things have evolved and changed and morphed, in superstition lore and stuff like that. But in the Edo period, they actually sat down and began to draw what these things looked like, and that's something like these scrolls still exist today. So we can see such glorious illustrations of such yokai as Hairy Nipple Guy, Pac-Man, Sunburn Charlie, and Droopy the dog. You remember Droopy the dog, the cartoon character? He's like, "Hi everybody," it's kind of like that. Yeah, so we see a lot of those, and we see the Ushioni and the Tsuchigumo there. Now, so during Wano, I even made a few videos about this back during Wano. I was like, is Wano gonna have actual legit yokai running around? Because there's a lot of characters in Wano and Onigashima and stuff that are references to yokai, like Black Maria herself being part spider, kind of like that. There was the teacher that could turn into the snake. That was the snake smile. So her like head got longer. Fuku Rokuju had the long forehead. That's also in reference to well, that's actually in reference to one of the 7 lucky gods, but I think there's a connection there with lore. Onimaru that could transform into Gyukimaru, that was a reference to a yokai. Even Kaido and Yamato, you could even say, because of the horns, were references to yokai. So I was wondering, are these all just devil fruit abilities, or are these legitimate yokai that exist in One Piece, right? And it was clarified, the Wan Yudo, Black Maria had that staff that had a Wan Yudo at the end of it, but it was just a smile user that had the pug fruit, so stuff like that was played up in Wano. This is, look, if you want to tell me that this is a devil fruit ability, sure. I mean, obviously it's One Piece, right? Like an actual devil fruit ability. No air quotes. Every other devil fruit is a devil fruit. This is, no air quotes, devil fruit. You get what I mean? Okay, right? You could say that. Or you could say, this is something that began before devil fruits. Like the Gorosei had the forms of actual devils, and then something happened, and that was the creation of devil fruits or something, okay? You could say that this is a byproduct of a fruit, or this is origin of the fruit, because Oda is definitely going with something here where there's this magic summoning satanic circle on the ground, and black smoke and fire was coming out of it, and then this, St. J. Garcia, teleports, warps from the ship to the island, through this summoning circle that he just, snapped his fingers and created. The Marines didn't have to paint this thing. It just appeared, okay? So he could just do this whenever. He could just warp, I guess, wherever he wants. It could be all over the world. Who knows? He just never has any... He even says here, I can't remember the last time I stepped foot on the surface world, of the surface of the lower realm, So it's been a while since he's left Marijois, but he might be able to leave whenever he wants, right? Yeah, this guy is like a straight up demon. He's a straight up devil. He's a yokai, an oni, whatever you want to call him, and he has legitimate magical hell powers, okay? He can just make people's heads explode by looking at him. He can make a summoning circle to himself, black fire, the whole theatrics, whole 9 yard, whenever he wants. Okay? This is terrifying. Think of it like this, too. You got Luffy, right? You got Luffy, and he's in his sun god form, and he's all happy and chipper, and he's Toon Force, and he's able to move stuff around. Think of this like a dark Toon Force, okay? Where
St. J. Garcia Saturn, and by extension, all the other Gorosei, and Eam as well, are able to do things like Luffy can, but in a much more sinister, occult kind of way. In a much more like, oh yes, I don't bounce around like an idiot and turn the world into like, you know, a rubber house. I can literally summon the flames of hell to burn this island down. You know, like something like that, like actually legit, all right? You know, so once again, whether or not it's, obviously he looks like a Devil Fruit user. He looks like a Mythical Zone user. He's got the ribbon, but because, and also, by the way, I'm 100% now on board with the theory that existed for years of the Gorosei being immortals. Because if the rest of the world has never seen them before, if the idea of even seeing them is warranting getting your head blown off, and they have all these weird powers now, sure, the Gorosei could also be 800, 900 years old. I'm okay with that. I'll roll with that, fine. But yeah, it might be a thing where it's like it's a byproduct of Devil Fruits, or it's something the Gorosei did that created Devil Fruits. I don't know, but we'll see where this goes. But anyway, he shows up. He also has like talons on his fingers, like little sharp like nails on his fingers as he's like clutching his cane. So he shows up, and Bonney's looking at it. By the way, their heads don't explode. I think it's just a thing where maybe St. J. Garcia is like, all right, none of the Marines below the rank of Commodore. I've also seen another translation, which was Rear Admiral, or any low-ranking Marine. So the Vice Admirals are fine. The Vice Admirals are okay. Kizaru's obviously okay. Kizaru's seen him before. Don't know if they've seen him in this form before, but like any other Marine, they can't see. Also, I thought about maybe, because we are going the whole idea with like actual devils now, what if it's a thing where like when the Marines join up with the Navy, obviously with the government, there's probably a physical, there's probably something like a blood test. So maybe the Marines have to give up some of their blood or something like that. And it's like, oh, this is just for a test. But in reality, it's so if they needed to, the Gorosei could like manipulate all of, you know, it's like no low-ranking Marine can look at St. J. Garcia Saturn, and then a Marine looks at him and he just boom, blows up your head because he already has like a blood sample of you and he can like control you or something. Might be something like that, I don't know. But, you know, he obviously doesn't have the magic ability to just look at somebody and blow their heads off, because he would just do that with Frankie and Vega. He talks to Vegapunk at the end of the chapter. He would just be like, oh, Quasar, boom, head blows up. I'm like, all right, everybody's dead, let's roll. Obviously, that's not how broken this is, but okay. So they're all sensing this weird thing, and they're looking down, and Bonney's seeing this thing. Kizaru fires a laser, hits the Milky Road that the tank is riding on, so the tank begins to fall, and it crashes down right next to St. J. Garcia Saturn. Luffy shows up to kind of try to block Kizaru from attacking the tank directly, because Kizaru destroys the road, and then he's about to fire at the tank to kill everybody on board. Luffy jumps up. He uses a power called Gumu Gumu no White Star Gun, and it's kind of the same ability he used against Kaido. Remember when Luffy punched Kaido straight in the face, and it, like the fist kind of came out the backside of him? It's kind of that. It's just it's named now. So Luffy kind of like swings around. Kizaru fires a laser. It like Luffy dodges it, and he begins to spin, but he uses that to his advantage and like uses the centrifugal force to like bring his fist around and slam into Kizaru right in the side of the head. And it like, you know, stretches on the other side of Kizaru's head. And even Kizaru's like, whoa, this isn't good. This is bad, you know? And then Luffy at the same time, just at that point, he ends Gear 5th. He just, you know, begins to fall. They both begin to fall, all right? So, Kizaru goes down, he hits a building, Luffy falls down, he slams into the dirt. Last time we see Luffy, he's beginning to shrivel up, okay? And Saturn looks up at him, and he's just like, Nika. So it might be a thing where maybe Sun God Nika is legitimate, like an actual god, not just a term for Joy Boy or whatever, like an actual deity that St. J. Garcia Saturn might know back in the day. And then maybe he was supposed to be one of the elders, like one of the fruits, same class of fruit that they all have, except he defected. He's like, I don't want to stay with you yokai and devils. I want to go and be free. And then so that's when Nika left. And so this might be a situation. I think this is all gonna roll around. The similarities are not lost on me here, okay? So they all hit the ground, the tank crashes, they all fall out. Luffy and Kizaru are on opposite sides of the battlefield. They're like in the immediate vicinity, but they don't show up for the rest of this. Frankie is helping Vegapunk. You know, Frankie instantly was like, old man Vegapunk, no! So he tries to grab Vegapunk, and he's like, are you all right? Sanji's holding Bonney, and then Atlas is there, and Sanji's like, Atlas, are you okay? And Atlas is like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. And then you just have St. J. Garcia Saturn in his spider yokai form just looming over all of them. Like, he is a big boy. Vegapunk looks up at him because he's met him before. And this also gives a whole new perspective of, like, getting an audience with the Gorosei when normal people get their heads blown off by them. That is a big deal. So when Vegapunk, when he, first joined the government and he went to go had an audience with the Gorosei, that is a very rare thing that does not happen often. That happens with higher up government officials and marine officials. That does not happen with the private sector very often, okay? But Vegapunk became part of the government at that point. So Vegapunk's like Saint Saturn, I presume, because, like, he looks kind of like Saint Saturn, but, like, giant spider yokai. And he's like, in the flesh, that's me. Oh, Vegapunk, you're still alive, huh? So it's like, I expected you to be dead by now. What's going on this island? So, last scene of the chapter, though, before we get any more interaction between Vegapunk and Saturn, Bonney breaks free, like jumps out of Sanji's arms, picks up a random katana that was just lying around here in one of the dead bodies. Might have been the guy that got his head blowed off, just like, oh, there's a sword, all right, pick it up. This is for random marine guy, But no, Bonney is remembering something that she probably heard in the memory bubble, and it's thus, and we don't know who's saying this, it's just Bonney charging towards St. J. Garcia Saturn with the katana while remembering this conversation. I have given the order, Vegapunk. You must remove his personality and individuality completely. Make sure none of it remains. And then there's apparently, I guess, somebody else in the room that's like, but if we do that, then Kuma will. And then it just ... trails off. And then it's Bonney jumping up and stabbing St. J. Garcia Saturn right in the chest. You see some blood, and she just rams the katana right into him. Last scene is just Saturn looking down at Bonney, just like, And then Bonney just tears in her eyes, just driving the katana and just like, die! Just like, okay. So I'm assuming, yeah, that's from something from the memory bubble, which we might actually get the flashback next chapter. Wouldn't that be wild? No break next week, but we go back to, like, what happened the night before, so we see Bonney in the memory bubble. Maybe. So I'm assuming this is now one of the Gorosei. Maybe Saturn himself in the memories, or maybe another one of the Gorosei. Maybe it was Ethan, who knows. But somebody in the Gorosei gave the order for Kuma's memories to be completely eradicated. It wasn't Kuma himself. It was an order from the Gorosei, from the higher ups. And so Bonney now has, remember when she said earlier, like, I have changed my opinion of who I need to direct my rage to. It used to be Vegapunk, but now it's the Gorosei. Also, I think this kind of throws away any idea that Bonney is Katarina Devon, that she's using the transformation ability, because we see here an inner monologue where she is remembering, like this, if you take away the inner monologue, if you take away that from this scene, and it's just Bonney picking up a sword and stabbing one of the Gorosei, maybe you could say, oh, this is Devon. This was Blackbeard's plan all along to kill one of the Gorosei. But no, she's clearly having memories of a conversation about Kuma and Vegapunk, so this can't be Devon. This is Bonney, okay? And it's probably the Gorosei that ordered it, maybe Saturn specifically, and oh, hey, how convenient, Saturn's right here. So end of the chapter, she drives the katana into him. Now, I mean, she killed him, right? I mean, she stabbed a man right in the heart with a katana. You can't survive that. And if Saturn does survive this, Oda is a horrible writer. I gotta tell you right now. I have believed a lot of crazy stuff with this story, but a man getting stabbed in the chest with a katana and being okay afterwards, that's just silly. That's ridiculous. It just can't happen. So he's dead right here. One of the Gorosei is down, 4 to go. Bonney's gonna wipe them all out. Now, obviously, they were able to tank a point-blank fire fist from Sabo and, like, no damage, all right? So what I think's gonna happen here is next chapter, Saturn's just gonna, like, flick Bonney, like, off of his beard or whatever, and then he's just gonna pull out the sword like a toothpick, just like, toss it away, and then the wound's just gonna just heal right up. And then that's all it's gonna be. And then we're gonna learn a little bit more about this. I gotta consult the scrolls, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta go to Japan into the temple vaults, and I gotta consult the scrolls of the yokai, or something like that, right? But hey, we also got Sanji and Frankie here, and I wanna see them try their hand at fighting a Gorosei. I wanna see, because Oda needs to now showcase, like, he already showed all the weird powers they're capable of, like summoning circles and everything.
But if you want to really make this guy terrifying, you got to give the impression this dude is no longer a mortal being. He is some kind of immortal yokai devil god, all right? So I want to see Sanji go Ifrit Jambe and kick him right in the neck and, like, break his neck. And then I want to see Frankie pull out a radical beam and shoot him right through the damn chest. Like, there is a hole the size of a basketball in this dude's chest, okay? And then I want to see his neck just crack back to position, the burns from Ifrit Jambe just disappear, and then the hole in his chest just glorps back to normal, and then Frankie and Sanji are just stunned, like, what is this guy? And they're like, keep hitting him, and they're like, radical beam, pshoo, 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 and Sanji's like kicking the ever-loving crap out of him, breaking legs, knocking body parts off, and Garcia's just there, and he's just like, like bodies like cracking and breaking back together, just like, oh, you know so little about us. You are mere mortals. You are ants before a storm. And then, dude, when Garcia finally fights back, I don't want it to be a thing where he, like, raises up his hands and, like, summons a fireball to, like, throw at them or something. No, I want it to be subtle as hell. I want it to be, like, he has his cane, right? I want him to have his cane, and he just, like, and then just boom, like they all just get knocked back. Like one tap from his cane summons the fires of hell or the quakes from hell, and Sanji and Frankie and Vegapunk, well, maybe everybody except Vegapunk, because maybe Garcia wants to talk to Vegapunk, but all the other, like, Atlas and everybody just gets shot away like a mile, and just like this blast of shockwave, and it's just like, Vegapunk, we can now speak. It might be something like that, dude. Like, I'm telling you what, I want it to have impact, So, yeah, we'll see next week if we cut back to this. Next week, we can now cut back to see what's going on with Kobe and the gang. Yeah, that's fun. All right, let's see what's up with Elbaf. Let's see. No, next chapter, it's going to be Law and Beppo. Law and Beppo's adventures. It's like, we'll get somewhere, Captain, don't worry. That's what we're going to cut back to. But no, I think we might actually get the flashback from last night, and we'll see what happens with Bonney and the memory bubble to give more context to this. But yeah, that's the chapter. Let me know how you feel about Saturn's appearance and what powers he might, well, the powers he's shown here, but the powers he might have when he's actually fighting, and what he even is. Like, if you just want to say, he's just a mythical zone teching, he clearly has the ribbon. Like, yes, I understand that. But I'm saying, like, it might be a thing where, it's not because Devil Fruit's Awakening have that appearance that he looks like that. It might be because Saturn has that appearance and the Gorosei have that appearance, that all awakened Devil Fruits have it to begin with. Like, he's the origin point for the Devil Fruits, actual Devil Fruits. And then there's Eam, which gets involved in all this, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. Let me know what you think about that down below. What do you think about Bonney and how this is all going to go down next week? Later, everybody. Tekking, signing out.